The packaging may say Kirkland, but the actual manufacturers behind Costco's store brand are often far more recognizable than you'd expect. Here's a look at the companies producing some of Costco's most popular items. Why would Starbucks, the top-selling coffee chain in the fast food world back in 2021, choose to help produce some of Costco's more affordable in-house coffee options, like the Kirkland Signature House Blend Medium Roast? It's not entirely clear. After all, Starbucks-branded coffee is already sold at Costco, often sitting right next to those lower-priced Kirkland bags. Then again, it may just be a matter of taking any extra profit where it's available rather than missing out entirely. It's reasonable to assume Costco would still offer a Kirkland coffee product even without Starbucks involvement. And since the company can easily handle the added production costs, partnering on the Kirkland line while also selling its own branded coffee ends up being a strategic win either way.
You know, this is, a damn fine cup of coffee.
As Green Mountain explained to Reuters back in 2012, teaming up with Costco to produce certain Kirkland brand K-Cups, like the 120-count breakfast blend box, was meant to offer more choices for budget-conscious shoppers. Still, with the K-Cup market getting more competitive at the time, it's pretty clear the company's financial interests were also part of the equation. Considering the company's stock jumped by 9% right after the partnership was announced, it's not surprising the collaboration is still going strong more than a decade later. Some people may prefer grinding their own beans, but if K-Cups are your go-to, opting for the Kirkland versions can be an easy way to cut costs. For most people, the exact origins of an alcoholic drink or the specific type of liquor involved don't matter much if the goal is simply to unwind. But if you're looking for a cheaper option, Costco is often the place to start. The Kirkland label, in particular, is known for offering heavily discounted spirits that still manage to punch above their price point. One example is Kirkland Signature Blended Scotch, which is produced and bottled by Alexander Murray and Company. Unless you're familiar with the many Scotch producers operating worldwide, it's easy to overlook the quality behind a name like Alexander Murray. Named after the founder's uncle, the company has been supplying Kirkland Signature Scotch since 2007. After well over a decade of collaboration, the partnership still appears to be going strong. Across all the generic grocery staples tried over the years, canned tuna has probably been the most reliably solid performer. So it wouldn't be surprising to expect Kirkland's signature tuna to hold up well too, especially once you learn that Kirkland's solid white albacore tuna is actually produced by Bumblebee Seafoods. While the usual expectation is that Kirkland-branded items undercut their name brand equivalents on price, tuna hasn't always followed that pattern. Back in 2003, for instance, Bumblebee's solid white albacore cans were reportedly about 9 cents cheaper per can than the Kirkland version. As you may have noticed, a lot of Kirkland's signature food and drink products are actually produced by well-established companies. That same pattern extends into its alcohol lineup as well. Kirkland's Tequila, for example, isn't made in a Costco facility. It's produced in Mexico by corporate distillery Santa Lucia, S.A. de C.V., located in Tezistan. Costco doesn't always advertise the exact origin of its tequilas very prominently, but in many cases, it's still possible to trace where they come from. Mexican law requires every bottle of tequila to carry a NAM code, a 4-digit identifier that reveals the distillery responsible for production. It's hard to fully see the reasoning behind why certain manufacturers agree to produce Kirkland's signature items. And since the exact financial details of these arrangements aren't public, it's safe to assume the deals make more sense on the business side than we can easily guess from the outside. Still, it doesn't take much analysis to understand why Blommer Chocolate Company has been linked to supplying chocolate for various Kirkland products since at least 2013. While it's not possible to confirm every Kirkland chocolate item that uses Blommer's chocolate, reports, including a 2013 issue of the Costco Connection newsletter, suggest it may be present in products like chocolate-covered almonds, chocolate-covered raisins, and macadamia clusters. Ultimately, Blommer's focus on consistent quality and large-scale production makes it a natural fit for Costco's private label strategy. And beyond the logistics, the fact that it's high-quality, indulgent chocolate certainly doesn't hurt either.
I want it. Come on, give me it. Give me it. Give me it. Come on, give me it.
Now, it's fair to question whether jelly beans really need to exist outside that short stretch of springtime around Easter. Even then, it's hard to justify spending money on what often feels like a pretty underwhelming candy overall. Strong opinions aside, candy is one category where people usually lean toward the name brand if they're going to buy it at all. So if you're set on picking up a jar of Jelly Belly Candy Company jelly beans but don't want to pay full retail prices, Costco is often the place to look. Buying generic meat can feel a bit hit or miss depending on where you shop. That said, Costco tends to have fewer obvious, low-tier products than many other retailers. Their farm-raised frozen shrimp is often seen as a reliable option, and in part that's because it has been associated with Kader exports. In fact, the connection between the product and its supplier showed up in an FDA recall notice from August 2020, which is probably the kind of detail that makes shoppers pay closer attention to packaged seafood. A potential salmonella risk is understandably concerning, even if it's a relatively common type of food safety issue in processed products. And there weren't widespread reports of illness linked to those specific items. Overall, though, Costco's frozen farm-raised shrimp still tends to be viewed as reasonably safe and dependable, and many shoppers continue to feel comfortable buying it. Sometimes there are products where the brand name barely matters, and paying extra feels unnecessary. Aluminum foil is a good example. Most of the time, it all performs about the same in a kitchen setting. So the premium label doesn't always mean much. That's why it's interesting that Kirkland Signature's Foodservice foil is actually produced by Reynolds brands. It's essentially a name brand product sold under Costco's label at a lower price point. If you weren't already aware of that connection, you might already be benefiting from it without realizing. And if you've been consistently buying Reynolds branded foil at a higher cost, switching to the Kirkland version is one of those small changes that can add up over time without any real trade-off in everyday use. In some respects, it makes sense that a company based outside the US might see extra value in partnering with Costco and producing a Kirkland label product. The process of exporting food into the American market is complicated enough on its own, so any easier path to widespread distribution can be attractive. From that angle, it's not surprising that the France-based dairy cooperative Isigny supplies Kirkland's signature imported French Brie. With over 120 million members globally, Costco offers a built-in customer base that can translate into steady, repeated demand for a producer like Isigny. And since the product still carries the cooperative's branding directly on the packaging, selling under the Kirkland label doesn't necessarily mean losing recognition for the source. From the consumer side, access to a consistently imported Brie at a relatively low price point is the main draw. It's not the sort of item everyone buys regularly, but when the craving hits, having a dependable and affordable option on hand is part of the appeal. Much like the earlier confusion around Starbucks' role in Costco products, it isn't immediately obvious why Ocean Spray would supply cranberry juice for Costco's Kirkland signature line. But the answer may be hiding in plain sight when you look at the packaging itself. The Kirkland signature cranberry juice clearly carries Costco's branding, but the overall look and feel is still closely aligned with Ocean Spray's familiar design language. That visual overlap makes the connection feel less surprising once you notice it. At the end of the day, though, the exact branding relationship matters less than the outcome. If Ocean Spray, Costco, and shoppers all benefit from the arrangement, there's not much reason to question it further. Figuring out who produces Kirkland wine has been a recurring question for curious shoppers over the years. While some guesses go nowhere, others line up more convincingly. One commonly cited example is Kirkland's signature Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, which has been reported by sources like Reverse Wine Snob as being produced by the New Zealand winery Tie Point Winery. If there's still doubt about the connection, some people point to the visual similarities between the Kirkland label and Tie Point's own branding. The resemblance in design elements has fueled speculation that they come from the same producer. That said, packaging similarities alone don't serve as definitive proof, but taken alongside industry reporting, the idea that Tie Point is behind that Kirkland Sauvignon Blanc remains a widely accepted and plausible explanation among wine watchers. While many Kirkland signature products openly credit the companies behind them, others only come into focus when something goes wrong. That's the case with Townsend Farms, which was identified as the supplier connected to Kirkland's signature 3-berry blend following an FDA recall in 2019. The recall drew attention because it involved a potential hepatitis A contamination risk, which naturally raised concerns among consumers. It also wasn't the first time the company had faced issues of that nature, adding to the unease surrounding the incident. Even though no widespread illness was ultimately linked to the specific product in question, situations like this tend to linger in shoppers' minds. As a result, some people remain more cautious when picking up frozen berry blends, even years after the recall occurred.
Well, what do we do with that information?
What do you do with any information? You just stuff it deep down inside and keep an eye.
Everyone deserves a second chance, of course, but the nature of the 2019 Townsend Farms FDA recall is the kind of thing that tends to stick in your mind. So while there's no reason to write off Costco entirely, It's understandable that grabbing a bag of Kirkland 3-Berry Blend might not be high on the list anytime soon. Kirkland's signature batteries don't explicitly label themselves as being made by Duracell, but Costco CEO Craig Jelinek confirmed in a 2016 interview with WSB-TV that Duracell is, in fact, the manufacturer behind them. At the same time, Jelinek emphasized that Costco doesn't heavily promote that relationship, describing Kirkland as just a brand rather than a marketing point. That approach helps the company keep costs down while still maintaining strong margins on each package sold, all while keeping prices competitive for shoppers.
The idea is to create greater value for our members, and they'll buy more.
Honestly, it's always useful to keep a stash of batteries around the house. You never really know when you'll need them, especially during a power outage. And with Kirkland signature batteries, you've got a readily available option that's generally considered reliable and long-lasting, so you're not caught scrambling when the lights go out.